You know, driving while intoxicated is a very serious thing because the driver is really incapable of operating a vehicle safely, thus endangering themselves and other people. So here's the story. I assume it actually happened. It sounds like something that maybe didn't happen, but I'll assume it happened. A police officer who was staking out a bar to catch potential DUI offenders coming out of the bar. It was past midnight when an exceptionally drunk man stumbled out of the bar. I mean, he went to the parking lot fumbling for his keys. He tried to unlock 5 or 6 cars before he could find his own. Meanwhile, several patrons from the bar left and drove away. Once inside his car, he rummaged around the steering wheel. He turned on the brakes and the lights and the windshield wipers, trying to get his ignition key to work. More patrons left the bar, until finally his was the only car left in the parking lot. And he started his car and departed. As soon as he pulled away, the officer went after him. This was his target. He pulled him over and gave him the breathalyzer test, and it came up negative. And the officer was very puzzled, and he muttered, "How could this be? The breathalyzer must be broken." And the driver grinned and said, "No, the breathalyzer is okay. Tonight, I'm the designated decoy." What's a decoy? What's a decoy? A decoy is someone or something used to draw attention away from something else. And a decoy is specifically designed to distract and deceive. In the story, of course, the designated decoy is a person who remains sober but is acting drunk. And his job is to divert the attention of the police officer so that all his drinking buddies can escape unnoticed. And he did his job exactly right. That's a serious thing, of course, because that means a bunch of drunks are out there on the road. But boy, did he figure out how to beat the system by distraction. In our spiritual journey, we are prone to be distracted, my friends. We may be preoccupied with many good and useful things at the expense of the most important things, because that's interesting. A decoy is meant to obscure the essentials from the peripheral and the eternal from the temporal. And that's what I'm going to be talking about this afternoon. Jesus commented, you remember, that Martha was distracted with much serving. That was the problem. She was wanting to do God's will. She was a follower of Christ, but she was distracted by things that were of secondary importance. More important, the church is mandated with a marching order of winning the world for Christ and preparing to receive the seal of God. We should be about our Father's business and refuse to be distracted. So I'm going to focus this afternoon on 2 distractions which are pulling our attention of Seventh-day Adventists from preparing the way for Jesus to return. You get interesting things in the mail. I got a catalog in the mail on health products, how to improve your health. And as I went through this, I kept on looking through it, and nothing on health yet, nothing on health. Finally, about in the middle of the catalog, I found some DVDs and products to improve your health. But the first half of this catalog is the interesting part. And these are all DVDs of an hour or more in length, and that you can order and get all the information that you want. I'm going to share just a few of the titles of these DVDs that are available and that you could get and have a good time viewing. Okay. Are Rh negative blood types alien to this world? Interesting. Crazy U.S. government taking steps to start war against Russia and China. Well, that sounds interesting too. Could spend some time on that, learning about interesting things. Everything is fake. Top 40 pieces of fakery in our world today. Explosive, the real reason holistic doctors are vanishing or being killed. JFK murder, absolute proof of an inside job. The dark truth about the Florida school mass shooting. The truth of who really killed Martin Luther King. Pizzagate, Clinton pedophile ring exposed. 9/11 definitive interview, who did it and how. LBJ's role in the Kennedy assassination. Smart surveillance via TVs, phones, appliances in your home. Radio frequency identification revealed, the secret microchip plan to tag everyone. Nano microchips may already be inside your body. What? Are there 250 million people living on the moon? Proof we have a fully operational base on Mars. Everything you know about the moon is wrong. Let's see. Enough? Maybe there's a couple more in here that I wanted to share with you as well. Pilot speaks out. Chemtrails to become more toxic and invisible. Flat Earth, the ultimate demonstrative test. What's really going on down in Antarctica? Revealed, the forbidden, missing books of the Bible. Pretty interesting titles. Pretty interesting. 88 pages in this particular magazine. 27 of them are dealing with secret conspiracies of the kind that I just read to you. I just read a few, very few. Each of them is an hour or 2 hours long. I didn't even read the titles on politics or religion. These are just some of the amazing videos that you can watch to learn what's going on behind the scenes that the media isn't telling you about, that you need to know about. Conspiracy theories are bombarding us from every direction right now in our media world that we live in. They seem to be very high in popularity in our DVD and internet age, because you can see it with your own eyes. Unfortunately, we in our church are not immune to the desire to know what is going on behind the scenes. What nefarious groups are plotting our destruction as we speak? How many Jesuits have infiltrated our church? How many secret prisons are being built underground right now? How the government is manipulating our weather. How they're controlling our weather. What hidden asteroid is just about to strike our earth and destroy us all? Well, the reality is that some of these theories may be fact-based, and they actually may be a real threat to us. But the beauty of conspiracy theories is that there is no way to separate fact from fiction. No way you can figure out what is true and what is not true. So we can choose the ones we like best and make them our present truth message to share with everyone. Share this DVD, share this with your neighbor, send it on through internet. Let everybody know what's really happening. And my friends, conspiracy theories are no part of our message or mission. By definition, they are unprovable, or else they would be called conspiracy facts. Conspiracy theories, sharing unprovable theories, destroy our credibility when we speak about Bible truths. They destroy our credibility. But the real problem is that they are distractions. Interesting, maybe fact-based in some areas, but distractions. When our energy and time needs to be searching out and sharing the latest theory, we have taken that time away from our character defects like temper and pride and selfishness to get ready for the seal of God. Just that much time is lost from the time to prepare for God's seal in the latter rain. That means we are blunting our real message, which is God's power to save and change practicing sinners into holy, sinless saints of God, reflecting His character through the everlasting gospel. All right, that's conspiracy theories. The next distraction may be more sensitive, but it needs to be addressed. If family gatherings, Thanksgiving time or other times, are to be peaceful and happy, we are told that it is wise to avoid discussing two subjects, religion and politics. So I'm going to discuss one of these to make our happy time even better this afternoon. First, a little history. I'm going to go back to a long time ago. During the presidential campaign preceding 1884, Review and Herald editor Uriah Smith lamented that there is nothing in either nomination to excite enthusiasm in the mind of any person who regards purity and principle above party success and political spoils. Nothing in either party. The triumph of the principles involved in the election of either candidate will be a disgrace and misfortune. That's what the editor said in 1884. And that was nothing new, the pessimism about national elections. Back in 1856, Roswell Cottrell wrote that it would be of no use to vote since the United States was soon to form an image to the beast anyway. One would not vote for a bad man, he said, and politics was so crooked that to put a good man in office would only corrupt him. When President U.S. Grant ran for re-election, Review and Herald editor Uriah Smith editorialized that to engage in the spirit of the campaign would be sure death to spirituality. Seventh-day Adventists, he said, can spend their time to better advantage. Let the dead bury their dead, keep out of it. Yet in the next week's issue, the editor conceded, if a person wishes, when the time comes to go and deposit his vote, he can quietly do so and then go about his business without plunging into the spirit and heat and strife of the campaign. When Abraham Lincoln first ran for president, James White concluded there was nothing in the Bible prohibiting an Adventist from casting his vote. He neither recommended nor opposed voting. He would not condemn those who voted, and he trusted that they would not condemn him if he did not vote. Now, Adventists have felt long an obligation to vote for temperance and against Sunday laws. We've talked about that a lot. The Third General Conference session, third time they ever had one, resolved that the act of voting, when exercised in behalf of justice, humanity, and right, is in itself blameless and may at some times be highly proper. Political agitation. Now here is something that we're coming a little closer to now, inspired counsel. Political agitation has to be ruled out because it has the tendency to set church members against each other, one against the other. And campaigning would prohibit our witness if we are witnessing to someone we disagree with their politics. So our witness gets a little blunted there. Here's what Ellen White said in Selected Messages, Book 2, page 337. Keep your voting to yourself. Do not feel it your duty to urge everyone to do as you do. So Adventists and others do face another problem, knowing for whom to vote. It's that simple. While the positions perhaps of presidential candidates may be rather clear owing to media publicity, the strengths and weaknesses of a myriad of lesser office seekers may mean largely unknown except for 30-second clips on TV. And do we really know who we are voting for in these situations? Major problem here. What are we going to do? What are we going to do about our involvement in political issues? We are very much involved in that as we watch the news every day, every year, each one becoming more intense than the next. I am very, very thankful that God didn't leave us in the dark on this one. He chose to help us to understand our relation to political activities, what we should and what we should not do. He did not keep it secret. If you want to read it, I'm going to suggest a place where you can go and read it for yourself. I'm going to be sharing some things from Inspired Counsel on this point. It is in the book Fundamentals of Christian Education, page 475 on through about page 482 or 3. 475 of Fundamentals of Christian Education. Here's how she started. Special testimony relating to politics. To the teachers and managers of our schools. Those who teach the Bible in our churches and in our schools are not at liberty to unite in making apparent their prejudices for or against political men or measures, because by so doing they stir up the minds of others, leading each to advocate his favorite theory, so that division will be brought into the church. Here's the sentence. The Lord would have His people bury political questions. On these themes, silence is eloquence. We cannot, she said, vote with safety for political parties, for we do not know whom we are voting for. Now, a little background here, a little background as to what is really going on. A major problem here is political parties. Here's a little background. The United States started out with several political parties, not just two, but it eventually settled into a two-party system called the Whigs and the Democrats. Now, the Whigs kind of disintegrated shortly before the Civil War, and they were replaced by the Republicans. So now we have Republicans and Democrats. But here's the problem. The positions held by those parties back then have little to do with what these parties say now. Their platforms, if you want to put it that way, of that time have virtually no similarity to what happened 100 years down the line in those same parties. And they have become today an either-or type of issue. If you don't agree with everything this political party stands for, then you are an enemy, and you must be opposed, whether you're in the church or out of the church. And labeling becomes the key issue and the norm, and demonizing anything that is not part of your tribe, what your group stands for. And today, as you well know, our country is in verbal warfare on a daily basis. We don't talk to each other anymore, we shout at each other. And we have very deep opinions about who is telling the truth and who is not, very similar to those conspiracy theories that I talked about earlier. I'm going to look at several issues of the principles that are based on Scripture and ask you, do you oppose the restriction of religious liberty? I hope you do. Hope you're not silent on that one. Do you oppose abortion on demand? Do you oppose torturing prisoners? Do you oppose cruelty to animals? Do you oppose massive destruction of nature for profit? Do you oppose the threat of gay rights' destruction of religious liberty? Do you oppose the invasion of privacy in our electronic age? Do you oppose the oppression of minorities by the rich and the powerful? Do you oppose the decay of moral values in an increasingly secular society? Do you oppose the proliferation of legalized drugs? All right. I think we would oppose every single one of those on the basis of Bible principles. Those are things we should not agree with or stand for. Major problem. The Republican Party opposes 5 of those issues. The Democratic Party opposes 5 of those issues. So whatever party you vote for, you're voting against 5 of those issues. That's the reality in which we live today. And you're going to have to bring along the baggage with what you want to have happen. Neither party, my friends, has the whole truth these days. That's just the reality of politics in our United States. Voting for a party requires, if you vote for a party, I'm not talking about a person here, I'm talking about a party, that requires choosing which principles you will set aside. for the greater good, of course. This is especially dangerous if we pick one or two of these issues that I've just read to you and vote for whoever supports that particular issue, because all the other baggage comes with that person or party that you don't want to have happen. Do you see why Ellen White said to bury political questions? Because the parties are not pure anymore. There are two issues that Ellen White strongly urged Seventh-day Adventists to vote about: temperance and religious liberty. And those are the only two I am aware of that she ever urged us to vote for. Against the abuse of temperance, particularly in alcohol and drugs and all the rest, and for religious liberty. And here she gave her strongest warning. So let me go back now to Fundamentals of Christian Education and read a little more. We cannot labor to please men who will use their influence to repress religious liberty. The people of God are not to place such men in office, for when they do this, they are partakers with them of the sins which they commit while in office. Did you know that? That when you vote for someone who is willing to just cut short our liberties for the sake of national security, you partake of the sins which they commit while they are in office. Those who are Christians indeed will not wear political badges, but the badge of Christ. What are we to do then? Let political questions alone. Those teachers, and this is very serious counsel, particularly for teachers and leaders in the Seventh-day Adventist Church. Those teachers in the church or in the school who distinguish themselves by their zeal in politics should be relieved of their work and responsibilities without delay. I think she meant what she was receiving from the Lord there. The tithe should not be used to pay anyone for speechifying on political questions. Every teacher, minister, or leader in our ranks who is stirred with a desire to ventilate his opinions on political questions should be converted by a belief in the truth or give up his work. If he does not change, he will do harm, and only harm. As a people, we are to stand under the banner of Jesus Christ. It is a mistake for you to link your interests with any political party, to cast your vote with them or for them. Could it be any clearer on this point, friends? We're talking again about parties. We're talking about voting for someone who holds one or two of your beliefs, or maybe 3 or 4 of your beliefs, but we'll bring in a whole bunch of other things along with it. Our citizenship is in heaven. The Lord calls upon us to stand as a separate and peculiar people. He would have no schisms in the body of believers. Is it our work to make enemies in the political world? No, no, she said. See, the real issue, my friends, is where are we really citizens of? Really? Are we United States citizens or UK citizens or Australian citizens? No, we're citizens of heaven. And what is done in these citizenship political battles is not we can have opinions about it. We can even vote. We're not told we should not vote. We must vote on temperance and religious liberty. But if there are other issues that you want to vote about, we're not told we can't. But political parties cause strife in our churches. Then let there be no shade of strife among Seventh-day Adventists. And I again ask, do we really, really believe that we are citizens of the heavenly kingdom, a kingdom based not on earthly values or methods? And there's we're fortunate. I count my blessings to live in a land of freedom. There are places in which we could hardly survive wanting to believe and teach as we do. And we should work to keep that as long as possible, to live in a land of freedom. But our focus and our energy and our attention and our time cannot be given to feuding politicians and parties. The U.S. is not our real home. We are just passing through. One thing we are counseled to vote for, and she was very clear on this. On the temperance question, take your position without wavering, be as firm as a rock. Well, I didn't see many temperance issues on our last ballots that we could vote for. So I guess maybe that wasn't an issue of our time right now. The counsel is really quite clear in this entire section. Do not entangle yourself in political issues. Keep your focus on our real mission and our personal preparation to receive the seal of God. That's the message. There are many things that are interesting, but they are not what we really need to be focusing on. I want to share just a little bit from something which is called a statement from a group of Christian leaders. These are not Seventh-day Adventists. It is time to be followers of Jesus before anything else. Nationality, political party, race, ethnicity, gender, geography. Our identity in Christ precedes every other identity. When politics undermines our theology, we must examine that politics. The church's role is to change the world through the life and love of Jesus Christ. The government's role is to serve the common good by protecting justice and peace, rewarding good behavior. It is often the duty of Christian leaders, especially elders, to speak the truth in love to our churches and to name and warn against temptations, racial and cultural captivities, false doctrines, and political idolatries, and even our complicity in them. If Jesus is Lord, then Caesar is not, nor any other political ruler since. If Jesus is Lord, no other authority is absolute. Jesus Christ and the kingdom of God He announced is the Christian's first loyalty above all others. Boy, I thought that was well said. Do we really accept that as our calling and our purpose as Seventh-day Adventists? There are many things that are interesting, and they are not sinful in themselves. It is not a sin to order one of those DVDs. It is not a sin to vote in an election. That they are not sinful, but they are distractions. Getting ourselves all involved in who said what, and are they telling the truth, and what will come of it, and how will it work out. You see, Satan does not need to ensnare us in apostasy, in teaching falsehood. He just has to distract us enough so we don't prepare our hearts for the latter rain, because that's the only way we get to go home. And so getting us off on a tangent is Satan's best way of being a designated decoy. I think that's what conspiracies and politics are all about. Satan's designated decoys to get us to following the wrong person and leader and party until we actually delay rather than hasten Christ's coming by getting our minds swept up in these things. That's the extremely dangerous thing that I believe is a problem in our time and is increasing all the time.